My Nobel Prize is based on this. On today's edition of Guess What's Printing, wait, the title already gave it away. There we go. Looks like my bed addition is a little too good. This thing is the ever popular BIEGELEHRE, which will help me clean up this SCR gate drive transformer board. I will be using it to bend the legs of two diodes. That was simple enough, and it fits quite well too. That's one problem solved. Now I just have to find a scrap of perf board that is enough to solder these two transformers, which I found on CFL lamp PCBs by the way, and the two diodes. Oh, and these PCBs? Well, so much for a non-linear storyline. It was on a cold, wet November day that I found this package placed on my desk, already unceremoniously opened. I didn't even have a chance to smell the smell of new PCB. It didn't help one bit that the package was 2 months late and I had to pay the equivalent of $45 as customs fees. To take a closer look, I'll have to do some quick cleanup with the help of visual effects. Two sets of 5 PCBs, of which two are assembled, and of course, a keychain. The PCBs are stuck together using some kind of masking tape which I have to peel off. The first board is the new highly improved power board, complete with the soft latching power switch I described in an earlier video. The second board is yet another version of the STM32 board, this time fully assembled with no scope for error. At the press of a button, the power supply board powers the Arduino, which can now turn itself off after 3 seconds thanks to the soft latching power switch. Let's do it another time just to make sure that this was not a coincidence. And yet another time for luck. The STM32 board took much longer to get working since I couldn't talk to it through any of the usual means. Just kidding. The flash loader demonstrator seems to work just fine. Probing the crystal pin to make sure it's really working. This is my ST link which I was staring at and I noticed something. The SWT pins are on the bottom row and me being me, the jumpers are connected to the top row. No wonder the thing didn't work the first time. I fixed it and this time it works. One thing I didn't anticipate with my new projectiles was that they would get attracted to the augmenting magnets. Of course, they are made of steel, so they are, but now I have a feeling it could lead to problems even with a magnetless design. So, in search of alternatives, I found aluminium, ubiquitous and easy to work with. But there is one problem. As I learned the hard way back in 2019, aluminium is not easy to solder onto. This time, I have some new chemistry knowledge. But aluminium seems to be more stubborn than me and is resilient in the face of even nasty chemicals like potassium hydroxide. Since nothing is working, let us shift focus to something else. I found this nice pair of genuine Nippon capacitors on Amazon. For a price, of course, but a price I was willing to pay. I've been doing a lot of calculation on LT Spice. Yes, I've been getting good at LT Spice, it's not that hard. And I came to the conclusion that a 450 volt capacitor with an ESR greater than the ESR of the 200 volt caps I have now would be able to deliver much higher peak currents and even more energy. All this depends on the ESR, of course, and I was disappointed by what the datasheet told me. I decided to measure it for myself and I was pretty disappointed with the results. Still not satisfied, I ordered one of those cheap LCR meter things on Amazon which arrived the very next day. It turns on, but there's nothing on the screen which someone seems to have taken a bite out of. That bite contains signal traces. No wonder the thing does not work. This is the second time the same thing arrived in damaged condition in so many years. I guess I'll have to reorder. Here are some bits of the screen. The package looks a little suspicious. It's already been opened and taped close. The manual has a nice EEV blog reference. Here's the second one I got a week later, and I'm being a little more cautious this time. Oh well, perhaps the batteries run out. Maybe this one too. Let me try my power supply. Not again. Upon closer inspection, I noticed that one of the diodes was completely smashed and one of the crystal pins was not soldered on properly. I guess this is a DIY kit after all. Now that I've got it working, let's test it. Let me now try the capacitors I've been using for the last 4 or so years. Well, maybe my DIY method was wrong. I think I'll just stick to these ones for now. I've had them for a while. I found a method to try plating aluminium with copper, which involves sanding the aluminium, cleaning the surface with salt and a solution of copper sulfate and ferric chloride, wiping it off, and then dabbing some more copper sulfate ferric chloride solution. For some reason, this does not seem to work as consistently as I'd expected, so I guess I'll have to call this method a write off as well. Well, it was not so much of a godsend, it was more like a second thought. Took me long enough to realize I could actually get this stuff. At least it takes solder easily. The results are not as springy as stainless steel, but nevertheless adequate. Upon measuring the voltage across the rails to measure the contact resistance, I get a literal 0, which is perfect. And thinking about it, copper strip like this would make perfect bus bars. Turns out this purchase kills two birds with one stone. At the time I recorded this footage, the plan was to test my old railgun design that featured magnets and augmenting coils. Thinking about it now, I'm pretty sure the thing wouldn't have worked. And in the meanwhile, I'd already come up with something new, something innovative, and something I forgot to record. But that was almost 7 months back. I left off the project making sure the hardware was still working. The cap charger charges, passes my sketchy EMI test, and here's an acrylic frame I made before I decided to buy a 3D printer. Let me quickly clean up my table and redecorate it for the last shot of the first part of this last Railgun update. Of course, there is a lot to talk about and a lot left to do, but I'll save that for next time.